Ready.
All right, we're live.
What is good, Chi-Town, and happy Sunday to all you Windy City fanatics out there. We are Windy City Fantasy. We are 2.5 of Windy City Fantasy. I am your host, Steve. Across from me, not Moose, but we have Marty the Moose with us. Thanks, Marty. And then to the left of me, but probably to the right of him and vice versa, we have dropping the beats and dropping the likes. We got Elliot.
Charlie Brown.
Tis the Christmas season to you all. I hope everyone is already locked into your playoffs, or if you're one spot away, then stay right here with us. Ask us your sick questions. We got a great show for you today for this half hour. But first, a couple new, not news and notes, but points of interest to bring up. If you want to comment for us to see you accept the agreement from StreamYard, so we can see who you are instead of just being in the dark. Also, if you missed our Thursday live podcast on Facebook, it was great. Check us back out on YouTube at the Logic Media page for YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, and Apple Pods. Today, check the ticker below. You will see all who is out. I will start off by saying that we do have some questionable, but already expected to play. 3 players of note: Julio Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, and Todd Gurley, all dealing with injuries, questionable for the week, and expected to play, are playing today. Other players that are been questionable all week were expected to play: Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin or McScorin, Jerry Jeudy, Philip Lindsay. Now, Mark Andrews, he's still on the COVID list, so he's doubtful to play. They haven't ruled him out yet. Oh, they just ruled him out? All right. He is ruled out. Daniel Jones has been downgraded to out as well for a hamstring injury, so Colt McCoy will get the start against the Seattle Seahawks. DeAndre Swift has not come through that they are saying he is out yet. At least I haven't gotten that news across my phone. So as soon as we get that word, we'll get it out to you. And then we also have Darnell Mooney, who is questionable with a knee injury, but he's expected to play, Elliot.
Allen Robinson, same thing.
Yeah. Clear from COVID and will play Lamar Jackson. And like I said, check out the link below. You'll see all the players who are out or will come up to be out once we start reporting them. Elliot, how we doing today?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I got some good sleep last night. Not just at the job.
Nice. What is going on, Jay?
It was pretty decent night, you know. And like I said, I got some sleep. I'm feeling kind of refreshed. I've been up, and you know it's a good day because it's football, and I was messing with my kids.
Yeah.
So.
And then anybody who's wondering where Moose is, you know, life gets busy. Sometimes you can't make it. You got to take a rain check. So you are missed, buddy. I know. Where's your little Skippy, Jay? He will be back for Thursday's show. No worries. But in the meantime, we got Marty the Moose here to help us out. Before we get into our locked and loaded and up until, you know, everything else, send us those questions. If you know you got start 6 questions, we'll answer them. But what game are you most interested in seeing today, Elliot?
Man, honestly, I don't really look at the slate of games. I just kind of like, you know, go off of what we talk about, really. But I mean, because we talk about all the games.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that, like, obviously, I'm gonna watch the Bears game.
Right.
But I'm kind of interested in the Green Bay game.
Okay.
Only because I want to see how everything is going to look for the landscape of the NFC as far as the playoffs go. Because there are a lot of teams, Bears included, who are on the fence. They still have the opportunity. Like, what's that graphic that they have? The ones that are in, and then
the percentile of chance or whatever
You're like, still got a shot.
Yeah. By like
Even
a
though we-
0.9%, they still have a shot.
Right.
No,
Even
they
though we
don't
know
have
that they're not in it, but yeah, I want to see how Green Bay looks. I do want to watch. I wouldn't mind watching the Browns Titans, and I don't mind. I want to watch that Indy game. I want to see the Indy game, like for sure. It's generally like Midwest markets. You know, we're Midwest guys. You know what I mean? Like,
start off with Midwest market. Jay's interested in seeing the Browns and Titans. I'm actually interested to see the Rams and the Cardinals today. If I can get a chance to at least get to see some of that. If not, I'll have to go back and watch the highlights. But obviously, with a healthy Kyler Murray and everybody ready to full go, and let's see what kind of golf shows up for the Rams today. You know, this typically will affect people's. This could be a big, huge sway in their chances for making playoffs or not, because this is week 13.
Yes, this is your last shot. I'm actually, I think because I got so invested in Seattle with my team this year that I'm kind of like really interested in watching that Seattle Giants game as well. Even though no Danny Dimes, but
Colt McCoy is still a serviceable quarterback, and Seattle is the worst defense against opposing not tight ends, but quarterbacks. They can't pass rush. They can't bring any pressure. They should give plenty of time for Colt to look for Ingram, look for Shepard, Slayton. Like there's a complement of weapons. Gallman has been doing all right. Devonta Freeman was just placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. He was supposed to be elevated from off the IR today. That's not happening. And then,
oddly enough, it has the potential to be a shootout.
it does. It really does. I mean, so it will either turn into a complete crap show, or this will be an interesting game. And you never know. Like I talked about, you can run on the Giants' defense. It's just a little more difficult to pass on them. They do get turnovers, and they do turn them into points. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I expect DK Metcalf to have a big game. I don't think you should slouch on Colt McCoy because he may surprise you. Who knows? Jay's already got his first question in. He wants to know whether or not he should start Kyler Murray or Josh Allen, which is really interesting because I do like divisional games. It brings up an extra notch of like hatred, heat, and that more competitiveness. But then you have the Bills. You know, and it's funny because I think you brought it up on Thursday that the Niners, surprisingly, against tough offenses, have brought up their D and made it difficult, even though they've allowed points. But then against soft offenses, they get taken advantage.
Here, I could tell you right now, I have it up right here. As far as defensive stats versus QBs. We're looking at San Francisco. San Francisco is like ranked. They're one of the best. They give up 16.9 points per game fantasy wise to QBs. That is in the low 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're in the top 10. So
are the Rams. Rams, I believe, are top 5 defense against
Rams are number 2 defense against quarterbacks. They give up 13.5 points per game to QBs. So it's a matchup of top 10 defenses versus QBs. So expect it to be kind of what an old school black and blue division game is, where it's going to be run, pound, tight ends. San Francisco has done the best when they muck it up, like old school Bears football. Like I hate to like be that comparison guy, like when it comes to that stuff. But we've seen where we've had bad enough teams where we know, hey, look, we gotta run it and keep the other offense off the field. You know, for a long period. It's like the model that they try to use against KC. You know what I mean? Like if we can keep Mahomes and that high-powered offense off the field for a longer period of time, we have a shot. So. That's definitely what San Francisco likes to do, and you know we'll see what happens.
I think in this case right here, like because I will factor in the divisional rivalry opponent over, and it is 2 top 10 defenses. I'll go with Kyler Murray over Josh Allen, but it's really close. So I mean, I don't think you can lose either or. But if I had to hedge my bets, I would hedge my bet towards Murray. What about you?
Kyler, Josh Allen was somebody I was looking at for my locked and loaded, but changed my mind on due to that matchup as far as QBs versus each other.
Now
I definitely would go with Kyler Murray though.
Let's see. This game is being played in Arizona. Okay, so it's playing in Arizona, not Buffalo, so no weather kind of thing. So
San Francisco, they can't play there.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Marty? Interesting. He thinks Josh Allen in this case versus San Fran, that he's going to exploit him because San Fran's not in their home of Santa Monica, and they're just going to flop all over the place the day after the Cardinals are going to tromp all over the Rams. So thanks for your info there, Marty. This is going to be great. Without further ado.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
That is correct. Do you guys feel lucky this week? Is this your week to pick the right players to get you to the promised land of the playoffs? Well, that will remain to be seen. But until then, listen to what we have to say. We got some good stuff to say.
Hey, look, we use facts, all right?
We get real facts.
Facts and numbers. You know what I mean? Sometimes it doesn't work, but...
You take the good, you take the bad.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get this ball rolling, Elliot, and I'm actually going to go with wide receiver.
Nice.
And for my wide receiver pick, and it may surprise you, I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton.
Oh.
Last week, we witnessed Hilton's best game this season when he caught 4 or 5 passes for 81 yards and a touchdown against the 12th worst pass defense in the NFL. Now, if you remember, Elliot, Moose had a little spat about Cleveland, Landry, Titans defense being decent against the pass, blah, blah, blah. They're actually not that great. And Hilton, this week, he goes up against the 10th worst pass defense, which is Houston, that allows 25 fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. So despite Hilton's season up to this point, historically, he has had Houston's number every time. And if you remember that 2017-2018 season, he combined caught 16 of 24 passes for 503 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is monstrous. And if you remember, 2018 was that was it for luck.
Yeah.
And you had Jacoby Brissett, and yet he still put up
Who was
in one game against Houston. What's that?
He was a serviceable quarterback too.
Yeah. And in one game against Houston, he put up 199 yards. No touchdowns, but still you're happy with the 199 yards.
That's very good fantasy-wise.
And this Houston defense is beatable.
Extremely.
Yeah. What you got?
I'm with you. Wide receiver. We're going back to what we were previously talking about. I'm going with Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona. Arizona's given up 24.3 points per game to wide receivers. It's a home game. And, we just gave you a whole bunch of information on San Francisco and Arizona.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. Cooper Kupp, he's when it comes to, it's him and Robert Woods. They're both in the top 10 of fantasy players, wide receivers that you could pick from this week. That will give you a good shot at getting some points. But it just seems like Robert Woods is the go get the yards guy, and Cooper Kupp is the go get the touchdowns guy. So, unless Robert Woods gets something on the outside that he can take to the house, I don't see him. I see him having a good game, but I don't see him having a fantasy relevant. Well, I shouldn't say fantasy relevant. I don't see him having the kind of impact points wise that Cooper Kupp will have.
Yeah,
but they both will have a good game today.
He's always been a favorite target of Goff in the end zone, especially when they get close to within the 20. So yeah, I like that pick right there. Jay's actually saying Brandon Cooks, which is possibly that could be a great game considering the fact no Will Fuller for the rest of the season, and you have both Cobb and Stills on IR, and then all you have is Kiki Qt. So but that could backfire on you, and they could just use Cooks as a draw play, and everything goes to Kiki, little Kiki.
Or Deshaun.
All right, and then for my next position is going to be running back, and whenever I think about players, I have like weird nerdy things pop in my head and makes me think of, you know, what I could tie in with these players. So for me, it's going to be,
can you dig it, sucker?
for all you old school wrestling fans, that was Booker T. And
Hell yeah.
it's pretty obvious. I'm going with Devontae Booker this week against the Jets. So just let me present this little bit of evidence to you. Evidence number one. The Jets defense has allowed an average 111 rushing yards per game, as well as an average of 6 receptions and 41 yards to opposing running backs. Evidence number two. The Jets have allowed 18 fantasy points per game also to opposing running backs. This game was primed for Josh Jacobs, but in his absence, Booker will feast just as he did against Denver in Week 10 when he scored 2 touchdowns. Because, as we all know, the Jets suck.
My running back, staying in the Midwest East Coast area.
All right, Midwest
Miles
East Coast.
Sanders. Miles Sanders versus Green Bay. Green Bay is the 3rd worst when it comes to running backs, giving up 24 points per game. Green Bay, like I said, that was one of the games I wanted to keep an eye on because Philly is also one of those teams, due to them being in the NFC least, that always has a shot, even though they have 3 wins. So
listen, Green Bay is not lying about it when they say, try to beat us with our pass. We're going to beat you. We don't give a damn about the run all you want. And Montgomery showed that last week, the way he ran. So, I mean, for what it's worth, take that right there, because they're not ranked the worst against the run for a reason. You know, they really invested in their secondary and their linebacking core and wanted to focus more on that. That's why they run a lot of dime packages and they just don't care. So I like the pick.
I was extremely surprised when Montgomery ran for 57 yards, but like I said before, he's too slow because that should have got to the house. And the Bears' offensive line, while it's kind of stabilizing for the talent that they have, is not the Eagles' offensive line.
Right,
the Eagles'
no.
offensive line is way better than the Bears.
Yes.
And it's going to show because I think Miles Sanders is going to have a great game today.
But I will say what I do like about Montgomery is he's not an elusive back. He is a power back. And with power backs, you have to substitute one thing for the other. You have to take a loss on something. A loss of lack of speed is generally what goes first if you want to be a power back. Not saying he's super slow, but he ain't running no 440 for damn sure.
No,
otherwise, he would be an elusive back.
He's got medium. I would say he's above average when it comes to speed. He's just, you know what I mean?
He's a meatball.
Yeah.
Meatball sandwich.
Moose.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Moose? I don't know. What do you think, buddy? I think he's down for a meatball sandwich.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Jay, yeah, I like Montgomery this week too against the Detroit Lions. That is in shambles. New head coach, interim head coach, Darrell Bevel's got a lot on his plate to try to. It's basically what Moose said. This is more like his interview process for the final few weeks of the season to see whether or not he can retain at interim to a full-time head coaching position with the Detroit Lions or Lionesses. So, all right, I'm going to do tight end, Elliot. And for me, it's going to be Anthony Firkser with the Titans. With Jonnu Smith sidelined with the knee injury, expect Firkser to step up in a big way, guys. The Browns defense has given up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends so far this season. And if you remember in Week 6 against the Texans when Smith was knocked out of the game early, the Titans took advantage against a soft defense with tight ends, and Firkser ended up with 8 catches on 9 targets for 113 yards and a touchdown. Listen, Tannehill likes to utilize the tight end in tough situations in short yardage game. I expect the same today and a very nice fantasy day for Mr. Frisky.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Frisky with them tutties.
When it goes to tight ends, I'm going with the Hawk.
You making
TJ.
moves while we're recording?
Huh?
Look at you. You making
Yeah,
moves while we're recording? Oh, you
the-
sneaky. Did you pick up the Hawk?
No. I picked up Richard, like we were talking about.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. What's your pick, Mr. Hawk?
Yes. So the Bears have, like we've been saying all year, suck against tight ends. They're third worst. I mean, they're fifth worst in the league, giving up double-digit points. He had a fantastic game against them week 1. And I think that with the interim coach they have over there, the Lions are going to have something to prove. Remember, the Lions were a rookie touchdown away from beating the Bears week 1.
This is true. This is very true. So let us not forget that week 1 debacle, because it was, if this would have been a veteran, he would have caught the pass. The Bears would have lost, and it would have been a different situation.
Yep. So yeah, that's gonna be my my tight end pick. The Hawk.
The Hawk is this lock. All right, and Jay, he's going with Jordan Reed. We'll see there. Typically, Buffalo Bills, I mean, their defense has been soft, but without me checking. Let me see here. Bills, actually, they're about 10th, close to 10th for allowing the points to opposing tight ends. So not bad, Jay. All right, and to wrap up our locked and loaded, we got QBs, the QBs. And for me, it's going to be Taysom Hill. Listen,
Nice.
We're in Hill's third start since Drew Brees had to go on IR. And when I mean had, because the boy had 7 fractured ribs, a punctured lung. He had a lacerated spleen and pancreas, loss
Holy
of a
shit.
functioning kidney, but he still wanted to stay in. You know why, Elliot? Because he had that
Beast.
tune of the Saints come marching in, beating in his heart. But alas, against his will, he's on IR. But Hill, since then, has been mildly impressive, but a bit predictable, running touchdowns in, targeting Ole Thomas, and being Alvin
He's stealing
Kamara.
points from running backs.
He's stealing points from running backs. Alvin Kamara's kryptonite. But what we should expect is another great week against the Falcons, who are surprisingly just the second worst against opposing quarterbacks. Seattle is the worst. Then Atlanta, and the first game that Hill played was against Atlanta, and he ran 2 touchdowns in. He also targeted Thomas 13 times.
Jay said, "Isn't Winston starting?"
Let me double check that, because last time I saw it, it was still going to be Hill.
Oh. Instant fact checking.
I'm on it. Internet can only work so fast. Nope. Serving as backup. Jay.
All right, Taysom Hill it is.
Yeah. I did not get any alerts from any of the guys who I talk with. So, yeah, it's still Taysom Hill. And then, all right.
So,
What you got?
my locked and loaded QB. I wish I had a soundboard because
We
it
got to
would
get
be-
one going. We got to get
I know, it
that
would
one nice
be
one
an
up.
epic soundboard. I'm going with Mr. You Like That?
Ooh.
Kirk Cousins,
You like that?
because it's not a show if we don't mention Tanksonville.
Spock, there doesn't seem to be any intelligent football life in this team.
Jacksonville is the third worst.
You like
I
that,
was like
Captain
shooting-
Kirk? Bring me back to this, because this game is going to be blown
Yeah.
F out.
Yeah, pretty much. They're the third worst. They give up 21 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. It's Tanksonville. I think this, unless the Jets win a game, will probably solidify them as in at least the top 3, if they're not already.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And
Not Roto related.
right, no, I just had stuff in my throat. No, stop. But Minnesota has the weapons. They got Adam Thielen, Jefferson.
Irv Smith's out today, but expect Kyle Rudolph because, again, Jaguars are horrible against tight end as well. So
Dalvin Cook, yeah, everybody, yeah.
Kirk's going to be spreading it all across the board. Now, Alexander Madison is out, so as long as Dalvin Cook doesn't get knocked out, then everything should be great.
Yep, and excuse me, that's my locked and loaded. What about you, Moose?
Let's see here. Yeah, I think he agrees. That's pretty much locked and loaded for us. We got a few more minutes left, Elliot. Let's talk a little Bears talk.
Yeah.
What do the Bears need to do to have a successful game against the Lions?
They need to do two things on the same side of the ball. They need to continue to do what they did to Green Bay, and that was run the ball. And they need to stop the run because Detroit in that first game still ran really well against the Bears, and that includes Father Time, Adrian Peterson.
He's always been a thorn in the Bears' side, no matter what. He may be older, maybe lost a little pep in his step, but he still can put one into the Bears' ass.
Yeah, I look at it like this. The Bears were embarrassed by their greatest rival last week. They had no Akeem Hicks. Akeem Hicks may play today. He did practice. So if he plays, that should, I want to say even a 60, 70, 80% Akeem Hicks would be just enough.
Get him limited in plays, not so much of a snap percentage. The two things I'd like to see is minimize the time on the field for the defense and definitely run the ball more. Take more time management out of the offense's hands to try to give your defense more of a rest. One of the biggest problems I think the Bears are dealing with is not only the fact that when you lose key players like Akeem Hicks, that you put too much of a strain on everybody else and they get gassed. You know, there's been a lot of talk about like this. People are starting to bash Khalil Mack and how he's not having the good games as he should be having. But when you don't have key nose tackle position guys or somebody from the other end to cause that kind of like problems where they need to double team them and not, what was good about Akeem was that you had to worry about both him and Mack. Then you had the linebackers, Trevathan, then you had, Eddie Jackson kind of come, just blasting right through. Like,
Roquan.
You got Roquan always floating around somewhere. He's like a predator. So, but if you don't have these key guys and you're keeping the defense out there too long, then it's too simple to do these double blocks, these chop blocks, and just kind of get them out of the way.
I agree with you, but that's something that they have been doing for like the whole season, leaving the defense on the field like all day. Jay, they're not going to get a new head coach.
They're not going to get a new line either. I mean, we keep wishful thinking, but I mean, one of the things that we've been watching, so we've seen is that the defense is out there for too long.
Yeah, but we also who did we pick up in the offseason?
We got Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn? Is that who? Are you sure? Because I haven't seen him at all.
Nobody's seen him
one
at
sack.
all.
One sack.
The first couple of games he was out dealing with injury, comes back, got that sack. That's what we saw, and then he's been quiet ever since. So guys like that, if we sign them from free agency, we expect them to he's not even performing at a high level as he did with Dallas.
Right. You know what it is too. Like to go back to your Khalil Mack conversation, which may be. I know that Robert Quinn is probably a little bit slow, and I don't know if they're using him like off the ground or if they're having him come off the edge a lot. I haven't really been watching that tape. But there's been an unprecedented amount of holding calls that have not been called against Khalil Mack. I mean, against whoever's playing Khalil Mack. Even with double teams and chip blocks, these guys are like, they're holding him every week. That's how much of an impact he has on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, and the refs are not calling it at all. They're missing like blatant calls. Who knows if they're doing that to Robert Quinn on the other side? Maybe, but
But
I don't
what we
think.
do see more of is when they're eyeing in on Mac, when the cameras are on Mac, we see it. We see the holding, we see the double teams. We don't see the cameras over on the other side of the line to see what they're doing.
Well, Mac's the premier player on that defense,
And-
but Robert Quinn is a really good defensive player too. So I don't know if it's because his I don't know if it's because offenses have thought that he's slowed down as he's gotten older. So maybe they're not allocating the amount of resources over there to because that should have been. You should have had your left side, your right side locked down with Quinn and Mac, and then Hicks in the middle, and that would have allowed you to wreak havoc with Roquan and the middle linebackers, and our safeties are pretty good too. So you know what I mean? Like, it's bits and pieces. The defense is still really good. It's top 5, maybe top 7.
It's still within the top 10 of defenses in the NFL. It's just that when the time of possession of when they're on the field is greater than your offensive time of possession, then that's a problem. And then it goes to show you where the organization's head and heart is always going to be on defense. As they went out and they procured Robert Quinn, they drafted Jalen Johnson. They were looking to fill holes that they thought they had holes, but they should have been focusing more on offensive line and trying to sign or fill gaps there, and then see what you got in your defense. And then maybe throughout the season, then you try to trade for a defensive player, or you pick somebody off waivers, after a team released a player. Look what happened with the Minnesota defensive end who got traded to Dallas, and then he got traded to Jacksonville, or Jacksonville trading Ngakoue to Minnesota, and then Minnesota trading him to Baltimore. So there you had 2 defensive ends that you probably could have been in the market for trading for. I mean, that's if they wanted to. I'm just tossing out things like this, but it probably makes no sense because I'm not a GM minded. I have a tendency to have a Madden-esque type of mindset when I'm looking at teams and how they can, go forward.
Well, I definitely agree with you on the Robert Quinn signing. Drafting Jalen was a necessity because our secondary was bad. I won't argue. Well, it wasn't really bad, but that was the hole. You know what I mean? That was a hole that you drafted and fixed. I'm all for it. But our defense was top 5 without Robert Quinn. So I get that you wanted to solidify and get some help on that defensive line to help Khalil Mack out. But if you could have took that money and maybe picked up a couple of mid-tier offensive linemen, and we would be killing right now because all we would need is just a decent offense. Yeah. And we're a running game away from having a decent offense. Mm-hmm. So, that's how I feel about it. But like I said, I'm here and they're there. So
Exactly. All right, so that's all the time we have for you guys today. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Jay, thanks for all your comments and any questions that you had asked. Make sure you guys are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Pods, and iHeart. Check out the YouTube if you miss our live videos on where, Elliot?
It's a Logic Media Group. Actually, I want to say it's Logic Radio on YouTube. You can go to the Logic Radio app. Logic Media Group app, keyword Logic Radio, and then we're also in the video section of the app there, where you can kind of we have 3 or 4 radio stations there you can listen to, but we also have our YouTube section, and that's where you can see Windy City Fantasy. You can check us out. Excuse me, damn that coffee. You could check us out also on Sports Zone Chicago Mondays and Thursdays at 5. Was it Monday? Mondays at 4:30 Central Time, and Thursdays are at 5 p.m. And plus, we have a lot of good sports shows over there. We got Lockdown, Lockdown Bears guys, and
What's up, cuz?
What's up, cuz? Sean and Maya in the morning.
Yeah.
The Basement Monsters, who are the guys that do pre and post for the games. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good shows over there. So,
Check them out. And then if you like what you hear here, then subscribe to us on YouTube and on all the pods that we're currently at. And then follow us on Instagram and join the Facebook group page. If you know anybody who would be interested in, pass the word along.
Yeah, tweet us. You could email us your questions at windycityfantasy@gmail.com. We're everywhere so that we could be here for you guys. So you got any questions? So
Absolutely. All right, I want to thank everybody again from all of us here at Windy City Fantasy. Myself, Marty. Thank you, Marty. Elliot. Stay
it's
frosty,
Christmas
Chicago.
time.